Look around. You can find cars like these on AutoTrader, like that car riding your tail. Or if you're tailgating right now, all those cars doubling as kitchens and living rooms are on AutoTrader too. Are you working out and listening to this ad at the same time? Well, multitasking pro, cars like the ones in the gym parking lot are for sale on AutoTrader. New cars, used cars, electric cars, maybe even flying cars. Okay, no flying cars, but as soon as they get invented, they'll be on AutoTrader. Just you wait. AutoTrader.
Life is made up of many gorgeous moments. Cherish them all, big and small, with Blue Nile. Whether it's for yourself or a loved one, Blue Nile's unrivaled selection of expertly crafted fine jewelry and statement pieces help make all your moments sparkle. Blue Nile's experts are on hand to guide you, and their diamond guarantee ensures you get the highest quality at the best price. Celebrate a life well lived in the most radiant way and save up to 30% at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
O'Reilly. Check engine light on? Take the guesswork out of your check engine light with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free and provides a report with solutions based on over 650 million vehicle scans verified by ASE certified master technicians. And if you need help, we can recommend a shop for you. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
It's really cool.
Bonjour, hello, and welcome to the Rosbifs Rugby Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things French rugby. Top 14, Pro Leader, Nationale, town cities, bars, fans, and everything that makes French rugby so superb. Rob, it's an exciting week. It's a very exciting week.
It's a very exciting week, and not just because I finished work at roughly on time this week, today. But it's exciting because it's a 3-day week for us, work-wise anyway.
3.5.
Which is
3.5.
I'm not doing a half day, mate. I've got more important things to do, like get a haircut and just enjoy having the day off and getting some admin done before the onslaught of the following 3.5 days. For our listeners that haven't heard us before, or didn't pick up on the excessive hints from the last couple of episodes, Rich and I and a couple of others are heading to France on Thursday. We are flying to Limoges, and then, well, you can do it. You can. You built the itinerary, Rich.
Well, yeah. So we're flying to Limoges via the windmill at Stansted Airport, no doubt, and we're spending one night there before getting the train.
Not in the windmill. One night in Limoges. One night in the windmill could be quite dangerous.
Could be problematic. And then from there on to the big rugby town of Brive, where we're spending a night in Brive. Brive play local rivals Aurillac, and then we've got an early start to get the train to Toulouse. Quick pit stop for some breakfast, lunch, depending on how early or late we've got in the night before, and then a shortish train to Castres to watch Castres take on Perpignan, before sort of very slowly shuffling back the next day. Should be good. Weather's looking good.
Yeah, it's looking quite good, isn't it? Are you, Richard, looking forward to the prospect of 4 straight days with Rob Graham? I didn't mean to refer to myself in the third person. Me.
Well, I mean, I think the fact you did you can probably then second guess my answer.
You do have,
yes, of course, Rob.
Two.
Of course.
You've got 2 Rob diffusers in this one, which is a good amount. Normally it's just the one, whereas this week this time around you've got a second Rob diffuser.
Call him. Well, I think because we're going to proper rugby heartland, I'm sort of worried you might go a bit overboard on the rugby nerding. So I've had to bring in extra artillery to deal with the onslaught. But no, I'm thoroughly looking forward to it. I think it's
and to someone to give you company when I get lost in the stash shop.
Yes, that is true.
Of both clubs, they're both clubs actually that I've not Brive and Castres. I've never perhaps rated the kit historically, but actually I think this season, good kits and good manufacturers certainly hoping to pick up some nice black and white monochrome Adidas stash. I'm hoping for some top quality stuff.
Yeah, nice. It should be a belting trip. And I suppose it kind of I think it's fair to say, as much as we're huge friends, we're not huge friends, don't know why I said that.
Yeah.
As much as we're huge fans of French rugby and the game itself, I think what probably tweaked our kind of passion for it all was is actually kind of going out to visit and spending a bit of time in these places, and invariably getting lost and stuck with some ropey characters in some restaurants and bars and enjoying a bit of time in the sun. So yeah, back to that, and not just obsessing over Anton Dupont's statistics, I suppose.
Yeah, I think this week generally has just been a big week for like what we're about and championing French rugby. Like another week in the spotlight with no other domestic rugby, no rugby championship this weekend, or like one just gone. Some absolutely wild results in both the top 14 and Pro Day 2, or just wild games. And then followed up with kind of, for us, weekend away, bit of sunshine in late September. 2 new towns that neither of us have been to, 2 new clubs that have got very rich history, which we're both massively looking forward to, and a few culinary hotspots in that region, isn't it?
Yeah, supposedly so. You do know the Premiership starts this weekend?
Starts this, yeah. I was referring to the one just gone.
Ah, got you. I was going to say, like, I know
URC also starts on Friday.
I know you've it's a big game, and it's Exeter Leicester.
Yeah, well, who cares?
Who cares? We'll see how you're feeling if Leicester get a win at Sandy Park. I'm sure you'll care.
Sandy Park, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Alrighty. Yeah, should be a great trip. If anyone's got any recommendations, hit us up.
And we do have a quiz, or Richard is being quizzed on Brive and Castres at the end of this podcast. A quiz that took me quite a long time to compile, but I very, very much enjoyed compiling.
Oh, lucky me. All right. Top 14. You mentioned there were some pretty squeaky results. Second week. Where do you want to kick us off?
Well, I'll let you kick off at the end, because I think that was arguably the game of the round, was it not? And also, certainly in terms of quality of lineups, with La Rochelle going pretty much as strong as they could do down to Ernest Vallon, but I have not seen that much of it.
Ooh, yeah, I caught a reasonable amount of it yesterday. It was, I mean, yeah, La Rochelle was strong, but missing a few and a couple of guys slightly out of position. I think just to start with, it would be remiss not to mention there was a quite moving, as I'm sure it's been covered quite a lot. Young French under-18s player from Agen who'd signed with Toulouse, Mehdi Nargisi, unfortunately passed away a few weeks ago on tour with I think the under-18s or the under-19 squad, and all of the Pro Day 2 and top 14 games in the first week held a sort of pre-game memorial.
And this week, I think, because it was the first home game for a lot of clubs as well this week.
Yeah, and obviously Toulouse being kind of right at the epicenter of that, they did it was very touching. They sort of had both teams together, and a load of the sort of young academy guys and stuff behind, and also a sort of memorial for Helen Takori, Joe Takori's wife, who passed away a few months I think ago as well.
Unexpectedly, so, I hadn't quite realised that it was very unexpectedly.
Yeah, it's really pretty. One of those things sort of pales at rugby. Kind of felt a bit trivial afterwards, but it was it was a brilliant memorial and a fantastic game to follow as well. Although not,
that was just on that. I found that was a genuinely. I think they said on commentary. I think it was Angus Turode maybe this week. He said that's as touching a tribute as you're going to get in any sport globally. Like, it did feel like genuinely, it's very easy to be quite blasé about some of these things. It felt properly like spine tingling tribute, because some of those lads they were so young, like his teammates that are there just like either desperately trying to hold it together or just they'd let go and they're just bawling their eyes out. surrounded by their mates. It was just it was spine chilling really, but it was it was a really touching tribute. It was really quite a magical moment.
It was
I thought
very, very well done, and very, very fitting. Obviously, the game itself was, I would say, very entertaining and quite tense without always being like utterly the highest quality, which is perhaps what you'd expect early season. I think the biggest standouts, obviously, Toulouse squeak. Well, I say shaved it. I think they won. What was it? 20.
won quite comfortable in the end. The bits I've seen, because I don't think I've seen the bits where La Rochelle were good. I think it just looked like Toulouse overpowered them at various points. I don't know whether that was, certainly towards the end, it looked like the kind of Toulouse are coming for you, and eventually La Rochelle were got kind of at the back end of that game with just the firepower of Miafu and Skelton off the pitch with the yellow.
Yeah, I can't find the actual result. It was
35-27.
35-27. So yeah, it is probably, I think it's a fair reflection because La Rochelle were always chasing it, but they did get out to a bit of a lead. I think I felt they got a little bit the rub of the green, probably not decisively, but the Flamand try in the first half comes from a kick through where, like, I mean, arguably it's great number 7 play, but Willis has absolutely just, there's about 9 illegalities in the ruck where the ball kind of flies out the side. And then I felt a little bit sorry late on because I think it was Souteni who had an unbelievable game. He walloped, who was it? It might have been Teo Entimac actually, and smashed him. And it looked a little bit high in real time, but it was just one of those ones where the impact is so big on the ball. And from that, it was a penalty advantage. And although they didn't score, they then had a goal line dropout and conceded a lot of possession because of that advantage. So that was I felt they were a little bit hard done by there, but also didn't help themselves with some like pretty poor decision making. Just like, can Courier drop one on his own 5-meter line when they're clearing? And it sort of undid a little bit some really good work. Souteni, who, when they won those back-to-back European Cups, was at the absolute heart of everything. And I think last year, along with a few of them, just looked a bit cooked. He was class playing at 12. Shout out Teddy Thomas, who I don't think had played at 13 before, or had very rarely played at 13. He was everywhere. He was absolutely fantastic. Bougarit came back, had a good game.
I think I did see Teddy Thomas get steamrolled by Peter Aki for his try. Did he not? He was kind of a little bit.
He might have done.
He's not going to be the most robust 13 defender, is he?
Well, mate, going forward, he was absolutely nailing people. So,
yeah,
he was great. I think from a Toulouse perspective, Francois Cross, I mean, he always has a good game, but really physical. Like, really, he was melting people left, right, and centre. There are a couple of good old school collisions between Skelton and Miafu, both came off the bench and looked like they were basically just trying to end each other at every opportunity.
That's the nuclear bomb squad, isn't it? Like, that's the
which is quite good fun. A guy who had a fantastic kind of 30 minutes was I'm going to get his pronunciation wrong here. The Japanese scrum half for Toulouse.
Saito.
He was a little bit rogue, but very good, very fast, almost to the point of, he kind of sped things up almost to the point of recklessness at points, but showed like a couple of really nice touches off the boot. And overall,
the lightest player in the entirety of the Toulouse squad, including the Espoirs.
Really?
Commentary, yeah.
Wow. Lighter than Capuozzo?
Well, I guess so, yeah. Which is mad, because Capuozzo must be, like 70 kilos?
Yeah.
Not that I'm an expert in weights.
He looked great. And I think although it was tightish until the very end, I think Toulouse pretty happy. That's my summary, but I was pretty knackered for the end of it. So I was,
I was watching a little bit with the sound off. And it did, the last 10 minutes, it looked like, just on your point about the refereeing, like, I couldn't see anything and it looked like the ref was just wanting to give penalties to Toulouse, and it's just like, yeah, you can have another one. There you go. So okay. Oh no, actually, La Rochelle have held that up. No, they haven't. That's a yellow card. Let's have another penalty for Toulouse. Like, I don't know. It just seemed a bit. The little bits I've seen did feel a little bit like that. But home crowd Sunday night going to happen, isn't it? We've seen it before.
Absolutely. The other late night game you said you caught a fair bit of, which I watched. I think I saw the second half of in its entirety, was Lyon Bordeaux.
What a belter of a game this was. Like, the
Really
pace of the game was ferocious. I think it died down a little bit in the second half. Ironically, when all of the big guns were on for Bordeaux. So Jalibert came on at halftime. I don't know whether that was an injury or they just hooked Carberry completely.
He was injured. He's got like it's quite a serious hand injury.
Oh, what a surprise.
Mm.
They just need like a robust 10 that's not going to get injured. Who is that player? But yeah, they the pace of both teams, like ball in hand. I thought Lyon were great. Like, Kuyu is just so sharp at all times. He's just always looking to go. Niniashvili is not I've been feeling guilty about our team of the season ever since we put it up and we picked Niniashvili because we had too many Bordeaux players in there and we didn't have Buros. And then ironically we ended up with 3 Lyon players and they came like 12th. I think Buros as a fullback is a far better fullback. Like, the bare basics of Niniashvili's fullback play in terms of catching high balls and kicking are not fantastic, but he is absolutely electric in attack, and you just cannot give him and Monty Ioane space because they're just going to rip sides to shreds. But in terms of, the ferocity of the game was not just all about the backs. It was, you've got to get that from the forwards. And I thought Gazzotti again was just, to have someone that young, because he's still only 19, isn't he? To have someone that young as your one and only ball carrier almost in the forwards is just ridiculous. Boschton was still great. I'm a big fan of Boschton. I think there's just too many people ahead of him for France, but maybe he'll get on a summer tour when he's about 29 later down the road. But yeah, I thought Gazzotti was great. I've forgotten his name. Guillard, who we kind of saw quite a bit of over the summer on the Argentina tour. He was also absolutely everywhere for Lyon. I guess it was quite interesting because Lyon it was all Lyon for the first 20 minutes. And then it was all Bordeaux. But Lyon went down to 13 men with one of the yellows was just a accumulation of penalties type thing. But the Jermaine Ainsley one was just, I thought that was pretty harsh. It's he's been done for like a dangerous no arms tackle, but he's really low, and therefore Johnny Gray flips over him. And I think he's also trying to wrap, but it's not his fault that Johnny Gray flips over. It's, I don't think you should get penalised for going low. If we're trying to get people to go low, you shouldn't get a yellow card for going low. But
yeah, because sometimes a bit of a grey area, those hits, aren't they? Because I think when it's like a real high impact as well, which you'd maybe get less often when you go low, the outcome of that looks quite dramatic when someone goes... Well, I guess
if it were Johnny Gray is what, like 6'6", 6'7"? If someone's chopping him just below the knee, he's going to flip over because he's just so tall and top heavy. He had quite a good game, actually, Johnny Gray. He had a lovely little offload for the Ben Tapoy try. But I thought Lyon's defence, even when they went down to 13 men, was pretty good, especially second half.
Yeah, that was...
When they've got Jalibert throwing everything at them, they did pretty well.
I think that was the thing that really impressed me, was that last 10 minutes. They were under the pump in terms of possession, but they kept... It was really aggressive defence. And they kept getting, I thought Bordeaux kept getting kind of marched back. They made a real mess of the rucks. And ultimately the Pinot try, which I think most observers had thought had won it in the 79th minute or whatever. The possession came from, I think eventually Jalibert smashed up an up and under, and they got the ball back, and there was a little bit of broken backfield, and they got through that way. But up to that point, they'd kind of withstood everything that came at them.
Yeah.
And then,
and you're right, it was all kind of, they had a lot of possession, but it was all halfway line, really.
yeah,
And actually, the guy that pinched that on the floor, Matteo, I thought was great when he came on. Guy that I've been a big fan of. I'm excited to see him. I thought he was really active and robust when he came on. Did a couple of nice kind of big physical carries.
And then one of the more
youngster,
delightfully struck pressure touchline kicks by Leo Burdu, however you want to pronounce
I thought
it.
that was really cool. Like, they get the penalty, which, I mean, I don't think the ref was good. Like, I don't think he was bad one way or the other. I just don't think he was particularly good in this game. There was a lot where I thought it was kind of could have gone completely the other way. That one at the end, I think our man Steve Blanc-Mapaz kind of comes in at the side and then swings the leg round and creates a ruck, and it's just, and then Bordeaux get done for coming in at the side, which I think was quite harsh. But from that point, Bordeaux is straight to the ball, straight to pointing at the play. He knows exactly that it's his time. He calms down the crowd. He kind of shuts his eyes, big, deep breath. Doesn't really take that much time looking at the kick, but looks pretty. The kind of sense you get is like, I know what I'm doing here, and this is my time. And he nails it, like he properly hammers it. That is a tough kick. That's about as tough as it's going to get. Maybe if it was on the other side for a right-footed kicker, but that's a properly good last-minute goal to win the game.
Yeah, it was a great win. Lyon, wicked start to the season. Got to get their first away win since 11 BC, and then turn
581 days.
Is that how long it was?
Yeah.
Wow. And then turn over Bordeaux. So fair play to Lulu.
Is there a name for this game? I feel like there should be like the wine derby or something. Like, they're both in the middle of some very rich wine region. I don't know. It just feels like there should be a right. It's a really shit. It's bad as
might need a bit of work.
Nationale Nook. Yeah. But
the Nationale Nook is better than the wine derby.
Well, yeah. But what's going to be more interesting? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know. It feels like there should be like a proper name for it, but I assume it doesn't, because I've never heard it called anything. So
yeah, maybe. Well, it's not a huge rivalry, is it? But maybe it will be over time, and the wine derby will be born. A more last minute, maybe not quite as last minute, but last minute kicking down on the south coast on the Riviera. Toulon overcame Castres. Did you see any of this? It was pretty awful.
It was all right.
It was crap.
It was. Castres played some really cool stuff in the first half.
A couple of nice touches. They also conceded 19 penalties, which is some going.
There was a lot of stop-start in this game.
And Toulon at various points did look like they'd never played together. And then it just started sticking at the right times. And actually, you talk about the kick, it would only be harder if it was the other side. Well, at 28-all, the conversion, Enzo Hervé has spotted it. It was an absolute beaut. But I think really the main call-outs from this were, I know we always come back to him, but Mignoni went through his full repertoire of tricks on the touchline.
Mate, the clipboard hit the deck and the pen.
The clipboard hit the deck and the pen went first, then the clipboard. Then there was another clip where both of them went.
Yeah.
Which was great. And he definitely had something on his clipboard this time. It was like there were a few little shapes.
It was the table. It was his table, but there was no writing. I can confirm there was no writing. Yeah, that was a proper, like, at the start of the second half, I think Toulon were very sleepy on their own line, weren't they? And Fernandez gets across. Amazing to think that he's there. Well, they've got Arata. I thought Fernandez was quite a good player.
Yeah.
And Arata's just sitting there. But that kind of gave Toulon a bit of a rocket, and then they were kind of unstoppable for about 20 minutes. Although, talking of kicks, Paolo Garbisi missed one very gettable kick that should really have cost them the game, were it not for the kind of last-minute conversion. That last-minute try, how Tuathuvu stays in, I have got no idea. Like, Hulu nearly does so well to get him out. And it just, when I saw it, I was like, he has to have trodden in touch, and he must have ankles of steel.
Yeah,
because
like
they just don't. Yeah,
he was great off the bench. Actually, he made a real difference.
Talking of Fijians off the bench, the man of the best red card of all time, Josiah Raisuke.
Mate, he wasn't great, was he?
He put Popolan. He basically chucked a penalty at him, and then gave away a penalty almost straight away. And I think the commentator said he started this game a little bit wild, which I just enjoyed. We know he's a pretty wild character.
It didn't go unnoticed, and he came on and he got one in the backfield and basically thought, "Yeah, I've got this." And I can't remember who tackled him. I think it might have been Garbisi actually, but it wasn't even like he just went down straight away and got turned over on his 22. Yeah, but we love Raisuke, so it doesn't matter.
The other player that I thought was great in the first half, certainly, was, and we've said it before, just sleeping on just how good a player he is, but Lester Fayanganuku, who in the first half essentially was Ardy Surveyor. Like, he didn't bother being a 13. He kind of was just another back rower, just picking and going, but he was just so good. You know how like Ardy Surveyor like picks and goes and just makes yards instantly through and like drags people with him. He was kind of like that. Yeah. I thought Sinclair carried pretty well as well. Just from
he was good.
There was a really nice
Ludlam
get to the fucking 10 that was really audible. That was quite clearly Kyle Sinclair. I really enjoyed the audible English swearing.
Good to hear. Maybe before we talk about, maybe we should finish on Racing Clermont in a moment. But before that, your boys Poe, they're off the mark.
You doubted them, Richard. You doubted them. And I said they could in the previous head, they could run riot against Bayonne, and they did. I've not seen any of it, but I've seen the scoreline, 51-29.
Yeah,
that's a big score.
It was a big score. It was mostly in the last half an hour as well. They just completely, as you say, ran riot. A couple of beautiful tries too. Is it Debanya? Aymeric Luke got a couple as well.
Who's just come from Bayonne.
Yeah, it was a couple of really nicely worked tries. I think you'll enjoy looking at them. Kind of got a lot of love down the left-hand side. Couple of lovely little inside balls from Joe Simmons MBE, as we'd expect as well. Moving on to, it's not the Simonsico yet, but Sam Simmons was back off the bench from Montpellier, who, as I predicted, dispatched Perpignan. Well, we had a man on the ground, didn't we? Apparently a very windy Stade Raoul Berrier.
Windy but hot. But he said that Perpignan their forwards were just useless and didn't get in the game at all. And the whole front row was hooked after half an hour.
Oh, really?
But he said, our man on the ground, Chris, said that there was just a lot of Perpignan fans. Like it was a Perpignan home game. We were both right in that I thought Perpignan would take a lot of their kind of normal atmosphere to that game. I just thought that might get them the win, and you kind of thought, well, they've taken it out of their hometown, and that will cost them. But yeah, quite a bit of a shock result that for Perpignan. 0 from 2 now as well, which is whichever top 14 coach thought they were going to win the league must be Ugo Moller's just thinking, oh well, I'm 2 from 2. So,
and then Van looked like they were going to get dusted up in Paris. Took 5,000 apparently Bretons with them, which is awesome. But got within a score at the end. So I think almost arguably kind of probably the best advert for the top 14 and for French rugby this weekend was their effort. First ever away game. Couple of lovely tries as well. A couple quite opportunist, and went toe to toe with Stad and clearly didn't lie down. And then just over the other side of the city, or quite a long way over the other side of the city, because of where they've been jettisoned to, Racing Clermont. Did you catch it?
I did. I watched the whole thing. I think this was arguably a less good game than the Toulon game. What did you think of Racing's star new English recruit?
I thought Dan Lancaster looked a bit off the pace, I'll be honest with you.
I knew you'd be on the same wavelength as me as that. It's just such an egregious selection. Like I look, there were 4 other people on that in that backline who could have played 12. 3 of which have played international rugby at 12. Like it's just and they had the bloke who getting his 400th appearance off the bench for Racing, who has played 12 for his whole career for Racing.
I would like to be.
And they plucked a bloke out of the Championship who wasn't even a regular starter for an English Championship team.
It's glorious. It's glorious.
It's a stunning piece of nepotism.
Yeah, it's top.
He also knobbed his first 2 kicks like way out on the field, didn't he? Like crossfield kick, like not even close. Properly shanked one of them. He did sort of very good goal from 50 metres, which I was while Faz was in the bin. And Faz forgot his kicking boots, which is never a good sign for the opposition, I don't think. I think when Faz misses a few easy ones, generally the team ends up losing by about 20 points. It just seems to be that way. But yeah, I thought... I don't know what Antoine Gilbert was there in training kit. I don't know if he's fit or...
He's coming back from injury, isn't he?
Is he? Okay. Because, I mean, they could have just played... They had someone... They had a winger as well, so why don't you just put him on the wing and put Tuasova at 12? Like, oh. Habosi came off the bench.
Tuasova looks angry, which is always good to see. I suppose with a bit of a Rosbif flavour, he terrible last touches and final ball, but Henry Arundel looked really sharp.
He did look really sharp, but my God, he cannot pass, can he? Like, it was kind of everything. He filled up to every Henry Arundel stereotype, didn't he? Of like, Jesus, the lad is quick and powerful, but his basic skills are just so far off.
Brilliant
at times.
Brilliant finish when he decided not to pass down the left-hand side for, I think, his first try. And he was put in the gap by
a man who passed the ball. Gail
Fiki. Yeah, I don't think... I don't know. It was a bit of the whole thing, the whole game felt a bit strange, I think. It was my take on it. And with 20 minutes to go... Yeah. And with 20 minutes to go, you were like, oh, I mean, Racing turned it on, didn't they? And it was pretty comfortable. But
I thought the ground was all right. It's just so empty and it's going to cut up. I don't know how they're going to play football on it once they're done with this. I'm assuming they're getting quite a lot of cash for it. A couple of things on the Clermont signings, a few that we kind of picked out pre-season that we like the look of. Barnaby Massa, nowhere to be seen. I don't know if he's injured. But talking of hookers and talking of injuries, Falau Fayanga, I don't know what he's made of. He basically had the whole of either Ibrahim Diallo or Eddie Benarous dropped on his ankle, put it at a right angle, and he just got up and played on. It's just absolutely nails bloke. We'll ignore the kind of... Actually, their line-out was pretty good. I thought Thomas Sate was great line-out time. But I do... A player that we've kind of spoken about, but we've never really seen, but I do like the look of, is Regis Montagna. He is enormous and he can carry. And I guess based on the selection over the summer, he's what, 4th or 5th choice tight head? Leclayat is probably kind of in the reckoning. I don't think Leclayat's scrummaging has kicked on quite as much as people might have hoped. But Regis Montagna looks a decent player. Signings wise, I think Roman Tau for Racing is just going to be so key. He looks so good, and he just makes such a difference physicality wise for them. But possibly the player of the match was another Englishman, I reckon.
Sam James.
I thought he was brilliant. He just looks so in control. We know he's great, but it kind of to slot him in at 15 is just a 13 is still his best position. He's got a lovely outside break still, but he looks so comfortable at it. He looked in complete control, especially with Faz off the field, just to kind of boot. His boot is massive.
Yeah, I mean, he's been such a brilliant player for Sale. I mean, Sale also, let's not forget, in the English Premiership have been there and thereabouts in recent seasons for a long time, and occasionally competed in the sharp end of Europe. Maybe not the sharp end, but kind of like the qualifying or the knockout rounds, I should say. And he's been at the centre of all of that. Like he's a fantastic rugby player.
Arguably, of the last 15 years, arguably the best player to have not been capped for England.
Not capped at all.
He went on that tour to Argentina, but I don't think I'm pretty sure he didn't get capped.
Yeah, that's
the
a
famous
shame.
2017 tour where a lot of the players that got capped are now playing in France. Maunder, Collier, a few others maybe, but yeah, well, we don't need to go into that debate. But I think he's probably one of the best players to have not been capped for England in the last few years. There's a hell of a lot of outside centres. That's probably why. But great to see him playing well. Great to see him getting game time. Maybe put him at 13 and put Tristan Tedder at fullback, or maybe put him and then Fiku at 12. I don't know, but there seems to be a bit of a roadblock at 12 somewhere.
It's you know he's going to end up at 10 and they're going to like win the league, and it's just going to be I don't know. I sort of want it to come good because I feel he's probably a really good player. Like he's clearly talented. You don't get picked up from another academy to go into the Leicester Academy unless you're really good. The fact he got binned out of the Leicester Academy for not quite being good enough is different, but he clearly has something to get pinched. Oh, of course, yeah. And I did look, actually. I've been fortunate enough to see him play live. Saw when Ealing Trailfinders beat Richmond in March last year. I was at that as part of a stag do. Dan Lancaster was on the bench. So yeah, there we go. But fair play to him. Not starting. Anyway, let's wrap up top 14 there.
Do you want to preview next week at all?
Well, Castres, Perpignan, going to be at that, so that's pretty cool.
That's the big one, isn't it?
What are the other ones that take our fancy next week? We have got
Van versus Lyon.
Ooh,
that's a must-win for Van, really, isn't it?
Yeah, you'd think so. Yeah, I like the look at that. Van versus Lyon. Montpellier host Toulouse. Could be that. Quite interesting. Bordeaux Racing.
Bordeaux Racing is the Saturday. We will be quite well oiled by that point, I imagine. But 9 p.m. French time.
Yeah.
Clermont Bayonne. We'll be at the airport for the other one, won't we? Do you reckon we'll find someone in the airport showing Stade Francais versus Toulon?
Probably not. No. Yeah, I wouldn't say a vintage round of fixtures, but Van Lyon. That's a really interesting one.
I think it's a pretty good round. I think Bordeaux Racing would be interesting, really interesting. Given that game last year was like during the Six Nations, and they were just they scored their only try in like the 80th minute, and it was like 21-5. But Racing were just
yes, I've forgotten about that.
They were miserable.
The Chaban del Mas, I remember it well.
Yeah.
Right, should we go on to Pro Day there?
Well, we've got the Nationale Nibbles first, haven't we?
Yeah, but we're gonna have a break, and then I was bringing that in as a surprise.
Oh, sorry.
Back in a sec. Okay, as foretold by Rob, Nationale Nibbles, the Nationale Nook is back. Oh, I've lost it. My results have all gone.
Oh, I thought you were about to play some sort of jingle then.
Maybe for next week. Nationale Nibbles.
Nationale Nook. Nationale Nook.
Well, I'll tell you what, they've certainly this round of Nationale fixtures really following. It's been almost unerring how tight a lot of the games have been, and that's happening in Nationale as well. So Albi beat Langon 7 points. Narbonne, who are doing really well, they've had a couple of tough away games. They beat Tarbes away, who are a really good side. Although we've spoken about how strong they are. Suresnes fell just short in Normandy, away at Rouen, 24-20. Marc-en-Baruel lost to Périgueux.
Périgueux, top of the league, aren't they?
Are they top of the league? No, I'll come on to them in a moment. Bourgoin scraped past Massy. Obviously, massive club, Bourgoin. And Chambéry, who are top of the league, beat Bourg-en-Bresse, who are struggling a bit at the bottom. And it was a week off for our beloved purveyors of food and wine, Carcassonne, who had their walkover week. But yeah, it's really incredibly tight, as you'd expect after a few games. But I think we've got 6 teams.
There's only one game. There's only one game there that's not within a score.
Yeah. So yeah, Nationale is the place to be. Pro Day Dare is having its time in the sun. I think the real hipsters are going down to Nationale.
3 games on a Friday, 3 games on a Saturday is quite a nice.
Good split.
Travel wise, allows for a bit of flexibility if you're going to France, I think.
Gives some options, particularly in the sort of Toulouse area.
Yeah, the real heartlands.
Alrighty. Another edition of Nationale Nibbles draws to a close, and we'll go into Pro Day Deux. Thoughts on Pro Day Deux? There were 3 more away wins, so the away team's still getting some purchase.
Boys, I'm wearing purple. Big win. They scored some lovely tries, Saxe V against Stade Niçoise. That was quite... there was a couple of grounds that looked and sounded quite empty, and Stade Niçoise was one of them, but Saxe V scored some wonderful tries. Well,
Stade Niçoise, the ground holds 3,000, so I think it's a tiny ground, yeah.
It looks a bit
really beautiful setting. Yeah,
it's really near the Allianz Riviera.
Well, less good setting.
Yeah, it's just a ball ache to get to.
Yeah, it was quite a bit of ebb and flow in that one as well, because Saxe V just got off to an absolute flyer, and then I think 19 unanswered points to bring it back level with about 20 minutes left, and obviously the boys from Angoulême kind of ran away with it a bit, which I imagine, well, it's maybe a bigger result for them than it looks on paper, because away wins are difficult, and Nice beat Agen the week before away.
Yeah.
So they're clearly no mugs. So yeah, really
start winning some home games there, you'd think.
Well, you'd think so. There were some really close ones, weren't there?
The other big away win was, you mentioned them there, Agen. They've had 2 good away performances, a bit of a stinker at home to Stade Niçoise, or the 2 winless sides going head-to-head away at Mont-de-Marsan, team that are generally pretty good, and they just haven't shown up so far. I wondered with Mont-de-Marsan, the only kind of thing I could come up with was that didn't look at a Mont-de-Marsan signings. There's nothing that stands out from their like transfer dealings other than losing Ramotu Tambua to Oyonnax.
Number 8.
Yeah, they haven't. There's no kind of not good quality kind of ex-internationals. There's no ex-top 14 players that have dropped down. There's no kind of under 20 stars coming through or anything like that in the same way that you have at the other clubs. And I wonder if they've kind of stood still and other clubs have actually, certainly someone like Saxe V, where, you know, they've signed England's second ever highest try scorer. They've got a couple of, you know, I think someone like Ben Botka seems to be refinding his best form, who was once upon a time the top point scorer in the top 14. Yeah, I wonder if they're just being overtaken a little bit because they haven't bolstered to the same extent, and their budget is relatively low compared to where their position has been over previous years. So yeah, I just wonder.
Yeah, you might be right.
I wonder if we'll see over the course of the season that the table feels like maybe the table this year will reflect the budgets a bit more than it has done in the past.
Possibly, yeah. There's quite a disparity now, isn't there?
Yeah, but
yeah, I don't know.
On that, the bottom of the pile on the budgets, Aurillac. Neither of us saw that. I know you predicted it, didn't you?
Mate, I saw that coming a mile off. Aurillac turned over Grenoble.
You didn't. You went for Nice over Saxe V, so
yeah, I did, but no, I called Aurillac there. I mean, Grenoble left a few at home, didn't they? Sam Davis, most notably, didn't play, it wasn't. Was he on the bench?
He was on the bench. Yeah, he played.
Oh, I genuinely didn't realise that. I thought he was out of the 23 entirely.
No, he was on at the end. He wasn't responsible for the crossfield kick, essentially to an Aurillac player in their own 22 that gave them another try at the end. They did lose in this game Georgi Javakia, who had a great finish to last season, big old lump in the second row, to a red card that is about as clear-cut as I think you'll see when a second row is essentially bolt upright, almost leading with the head, and it hits the attacker in the head. I think that's a pretty clear red card. He didn't have too many complaints. Quite a nasty one, actually, but that's always going to... They were chasing the game. They were kind of 20 points down after about half an hour. They were completely blown away in the first half, and then they kind of came back, as you'd expect, with some bit of forward grunt, but they just had too much ground to make up, and then they lose a big old boy. So yeah, bit of hubris. But I was kind of thinking it's a bit. My initial reaction when I saw that result was just to jump to Grenoble are going to fall apart. They haven't got the squad depth, and I think it's quite easy to jump to that conclusion. But actually, you shouldn't be jumping to conclusions off the back of one game away to a game away at a place that's historically quite hard to go.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, agreed. Brive left a few behind and lost by a point away at Nevers.
That was from what I could tell, an incredibly physical game.
Yeah.
Like Brive's tries were just real gnarly, tight, like mauls round the fringes, just grinding it out. Shout out for a player that on the highlights that I certainly spotted last year alongside our man King Ambadiang. They were kind of the two shining lights for Nevers alongside a try-scoring machine, Elia in the front row. But Artem Materon, who I think is a wicked player, scored a couple of tries. Really cool kind of chip over the top from the 9 on halfway, and he's just picked it up and just blazed his way through. So they may have lost King Ambadiang, but they've still got one absolute rocket, powerful winger at their disposal. So it's kind of, I think it looked like quite a good performance from Nevers, really, and they looked very, very
they're a good side, aren't they?
Happy and relieved to have got off the mark. That looked like there were some big hugs going on this touchline, which I think, if you beat Brive, you're 0 from 2 and you've got Brive coming your way, you're going to be quite nervous. So yeah, good result for them.
Definitely. And a few more tight ones just to skirt over across the board. Béziers, they got a good win away at Valence for a man who have had a bit of a iffy start to the season. Colomiers came really close away at Dax, who, Colomiers have already, who did they beat? Mont-de-Marsan in the first round away from home.
Yeah.
So they're clearly doing something right. And then elsewhere, Provence held on to Montauban, but only just.
Yeah.
Got an interesting start for Provence. It feels like they've sort of flattered to deceive a little bit, just got past Agen. I mean, they're winning, which is I guess all that matters. But you look at the squad they've got there and some of the signings. Maybe, I don't know, too much to expect them to have maybe been a bit more comfortable. Maybe a bit of early.
Them to be a bit more. Yeah, I mean, they've just had tight games, and they've come out on the wrong side of one of them, and they've come out on the wrong side of two of them. It's hard to. I think maybe it's too early to say, but yeah, you would expect good weather, flat track, kind of plastic pitch. You'd expect them to play some pretty good rugby, especially with that team, like some of those players. Yeah, time will tell.
Time will tell. And a team who are definitely sort of, currently at least, reversing their fortunes and make up the top 3 currently alongside Soyo, Angoulême and Dax are Biarritz, who've won all their games. And
yeah, resurgent. They've made some great signings, to be fair. It was just a case of whether they'd hit the ground running with those or whether there was still some shambles behind the scenes, but seems at this point in time to have steadied the ship. A lot of the Basque identity stuff that I don't know if he mentioned it on the call or whether that was afterwards, but Ilta talked about the kind of trying to rediscover, reappeal to the Basque fans. They've got a couple of Basque players in there, quite obviously Basque names.
It's a tricky one.
But they've got a couple of, they've got Dolagaray, they've got the hooker as well that came from Clermont, haven't they? Something else, Garay.
I can't remember.
But yeah, the 9 he's Spanish, the 9.
Is he?
Yeah.
I'm assuming sort of Basque Spanish. He must be.
Yeah, he is. Kerman Aurica.
Checker or something.
Yeah.
There's a few T's and X's knocking about.
Coechea. Beat Gif, but he does play for Spain.
Really do. Providing the goods yet again. We're going to be at, as we've already said, Brive Aurillac. I think, is that top and bottom in terms of budgets? Or have I made that up?
Top and bottom in terms of budgets, yeah.
Interesting.
Hopefully see a bit of Courtney Laws. Hopefully a bit of Ross Moriarty. Hopefully a bit of Sammy Johnson. I think that's all the British players, maybe. Stuart Olding. Lewis Noon, maybe we'll see him.
Bit of Lewis. Maybe we'll see Jamie Noon lurking about.
Maybe.
Throwback. Any others you want to pick out? Béziers Provence looks a good game. Soyo Angoulême, Stade Montoire have got to go there. Really needing a win. Montauban Biarritz, that feels like it could be quite close. Not too far
Do
from
you
where we're
think?
going to
Do
be.
you think Aurillac can do something at Brive or not?
Probably not.
Probably not. It's
I
hard to
wonder if
see.
they might be it might be a bit of a pass having won their game last week. Who knows? But it's just up the
and
road,
that-
isn't it? Or just up the road-ish. So maybe they'll travel for it. I don't know how sort of vociferous a derby that is. Maybe it's one that you do go all out for. Who knows?
Yeah.
We'll soon
I
find
mean,
out.
there weren't that many fans. That was one of the games that did sound quite quiet. It sounded quite rowdy when Aurillac scored, but when Grenoble scored, it was just silence. Like normally there's like some sort of background noise, but it could have been in a park.
Nada.
So who knows what the lads from the Cantal will be bringing.
We will see. Shall we wrap things up?
Yeah, and I'm chomping at the bit for this quiz, and I'm worried the more we talk about Brive, the more information you're going to gather ahead of this quiz.
Right, let me go and do some revision and we'll get going. All right, we're going to have a special edition of the Petit-Fours. Rob's self-proclaimed magnificent quiz. I'm actually quite worried because I feel like this could make for some pretty dreary listening.
Oh, I think this is going to be okay. I think
Okay.
it's the questions are certainly less niche than the Tour de France quiz.
Okay. That's good.
It was meant to be 10 questions. I sent them over to Reese and he said, I've renumbered them for you because you had 2 number 3s. So there are 11 questions. And Reese, who is coming with us and was 2 times stand-in for you, Richard, he got 6.5 out of 11 because he got half of the bonus. It's technically out of 12, or it can be out of 12. But certainly the first one is... So this is the theme for this is Brive versus Castres. If I refer to the clubs are Brive and Castres.
Got you.
So question number... Do you want to do all of them in one go or one by one?
You're the quiz master.
Let's go one by one, otherwise we're going to be here for hours. Which stadium has the bigger capacity?
The
Stade Amédée Domenech or the Stade Pierre Fabre?
Brive, Amédée Domenech.
Correct. The Amédée Domenech has 13,979. The Pierre Fabre has 12,300. So there's less than 2,000 in it. It's pretty close. 1 from 1, Richard. Well done.
Thank you.
Question number 2. Who is Pierre Fabre and why is the stadium named after him? I want you to be as specific as possible because Reese gave a very wishy-washy answer and I didn't give him the point.
He is some sort of like cosmetics baron or kind of, I don't know, industrialist who supplies materials, chemicals for, I think, cosmetics, fragrances, that sort of thing.
And why is the stadium named after him?
Because the company is based in Castres.
I will give you the point.
Thank you.
Pierre Fabre was a local pharmaceuticals magnate born in Castres.
Magnate, good word.
He owned Castres between 1988 and his death in 2013. The stadium was renamed from the Pierre Antoine after famous player Jean-Pierre Antoine in 2017, apparently with a very touching ceremony. And yes, Laboratoires Pierre Fabre is headquartered in Castres. So he's a bit of a local legend.
Nice.
Two from 2. Question number 3. Which side has won the Bouclier de Brennus more times?
I think Castres have won it a few times. And Brive, I reckon they've won it more than Brive. If Brive have won it, I feel like Brive might have been the bridesmaid quite a few times.
Excellent start, Richard. Castres have won 5 times. They've been beaten finalists 3 times. Brive have never won. They've been beaten finalists on 4 occasions. 3 from 3. Excellent start. Here we go. This is where it gets niche. Just because the answer to this is just one of the quiz. It's just one of those answers that is just always the answer to a niche question.
Okay.
Which German-born English winger who won 3 caps in the noughties played for Brive and Castres? And I'd like to make it clear in terms of people that are always the answers to niche questions. It is not Ricky Flutie although he did play for Brive. But Ricky Flutie is, if in doubt, he's the answer. But it's not Ricky Flutie, obviously, because he wasn't born in Germany.
I feel like I sort of know this, but I cannot think. German-born. When did he play? You gave a date then.
3 caps in the noughties, early noughties. He arguably played in one of the best England teams of all time.
Look, I think I'm going to have to pass because otherwise I'm going to be here ages in silence.
Reese did get this because he was at one of the games. Phil Christophers.
I don't think I would have got that.
28 appearances for Brive in 2000 and 71 appearances for Castres between 2005 and 2010.
Oh, there you go.
3 out of 4. This is probably the toughest question. Number 5 is probably the toughest question. Which player that played hooker in Brive's Heineken Cup win in 1997 coached Castres to the top 14 title in 2013?
Urios.
No. Oh. He was also coach
of
Racing.
Did Urios coach Castres? What?
He did coach Castres to their second one in 2018.
2018.
Or not their second one, but their most recent one. He was also coach of Racing between 2013 and 2023.
And 2023?
Yeah. And he is the current club president of Racing, which is different to the chair, which is Jackie Lorenzetti.
He's the bloke who bags everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
You'll recognise the name.
Not Clement. No.
Laurent Travers.
Oh, yeah. No,
Alongside, so him and Laurent Lebeat won with Castres. They then got immediately snapped up by Racing. And then 3 years later, won the top 14 together with Racing. And Laurent Travers stayed, and Laurent Lebeat went to France and then is now at Stade Francais. You are 3 from 5. Tough one, that. Question number 6. The son of one of the starting 15 for that Heineken Cup final win for Brive is a current player for Brive. What is the name of the son?
Bloody hell.
I'm backing you to get this.
Don't know why. So they won in like 97, was it?
Yeah.
97, 98?
Yeah, 97.
I'm going to go.
They played the same position as their father. That probably won't help, but it might help.
Going to go like one of the good young French players. Carbonneau?
Philippe Carbonneau started at scrum half in the 1997 Heineken Cup final. I did say to Reece that you'd get that. Yeah, it was quite cool. And yeah, scrum half as well. You are 4 from 6. Very good, Richard. Question number 7. Who is a Castres one? First one for all. Who did Castres beat in the 2013 top 14 final?
I think they beat Toulon.
Correct.
Yes.
And they lost to Toulon the following year. So that was in Wilkinson's last game in 2014. They lost to Toulon. Okay. But that Toulon team that they beat in the top 14 final was obviously the Wilkinson, Guiteau, Heyman. That was the year that Toulon first won the Champions Cup. So you are 5 from 7. Here you go. Another Castres one. How many appearances did Rodrigo Capo Ortega make for Castres? I will give you a point if you're within 25 either side.
Okay. Because he hasn't long stopped playing, has he? Like, not like
he stopped
the season before last? Oh, was it that long ago?
Yeah.
It is somewhere in the region of 380, I think.
I'm giving you 25 either side, which means you get it because he has 403 appearances for Castres between 2002 and 2020. He's a set that he hasn't played 403 games in the top 14, but he's the second highest appearance holder in top 14. But obviously quite a few of them are in Pro D2 because Castres dropped in and out. Very good, Richard. You're 6 from 8. Here you go. Brive, as Ilted reminded us, has had an English connection for a while, but how many players that have represented England in a World Cup final have played for Brive?
Up to the present day?
Yeah.
I mean...
Up to the date of this quiz.
Oh, my God. Laws?
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's quite...
I'm assuming
this is quite a small number. It's not like 28 or something like that. Is it guessable? Is it workoutable?
It's guessable. But there's a few in there that you might question.
Okay, I'm going to go...
Or you might be like, I don't know.
Okay, I'm going to go 4.
Do you want to have a guess at the other 3 then?
were Jamie Noon and Andy Good in the squad in 2007.
So that's where you've fallen short. It's
And
actually
Steve Thompson.
It's 3.
Oh, fuck.
Because Jamie Noon was in the squad and dropped out. Sean Perry was in the squad but wasn't in the match day 23, match day 22 as it would have been back then. But Steve Thompson is one, and Ben Cohen is the other.
Ben Cohen played for
3.
Brive.
Yeah, I don't know either. But Good didn't play in a World Cup final.
I thought he might have been the second choice 10, but
Toby Flood, who came in to the squad for Jamie Noon.
There you go.
Ben Johnston didn't play in one. Ricky Fleety didn't play in one. Christian Short, whoever that is, and Shane Geraghty didn't play in one. But Sean Perry was the real trick one.
Yeah, that is,
because everyone knows that Peter Richards was on the bench in that 2007. Everyone knows that. But yeah, 3 is the answer. Okay, nearly there. Question number 10. Which side has the bigger budget for this season?
Brive.
Incorrect.
Oh, what's the difference?
Brive have got 17 million. Castres got 25.
Oh, I see. In my head, I thought Brive were. I thought way higher
30.
than that.
Yeah. But no, you've fallen for that one. Got you. Final question, but there is a bonus. How many current top 14 head coaches have played for Castres? And then the bonus is, can you name the current Tier 1 international coach and the current Premiership coach that have also played for Castres?
God, that's so hard. Who have played for Castres? I'm going to say there's probably a pretty good shot. Obviously, Davidson played for Castres.
Yeah.
Hugo Moller played for Castres.
Yeah.
But just because they're the only 2 I know, I'm going to stick there rather than just say like 6 or something. I'm going to go those 2.
You've already mentioned one of them, and another one we have mentioned in the same answer. So the answer is 4, but the other 2 are Christophe Urios and Laurent Lebeat.
There we go.
So both coaches that won the top 14 with your boys Castres. Do you know Do you know the current Tier 1 international coach to play for Castres?
Who's the? I'm trying to think who all the coaches are. I was going to go. Who's the guy at Italy?
Casada.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's not him.
I actually didn't know he played for Castres, but I did know he played for Brive. This bloke.
Yeah, I'm starting to run a bit dry here, to be honest.
Well-travelled international coach or international player, Gregor Townsend.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There you go.
And can you guess the current Premiership coach?
Current Premiership coach.
Who until very recently was a Tier 1 international coach.
Oh, Checker.
Michael Checker played for Castres as well. They've got quite a roll call of former players, Castres, going down it.
Absolutely. Oh, that was
done,
tough
Richard.
going.
I think you did pretty well. You had tough finish, but you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You got 6.
So I'll take that. On the spot, I feel that's not too bad.
Yeah.
Close as well on a couple, crucially.
Yeah.
Right. I think I feel slightly drained, I'll be honest. Good quiz though, Rob. It was very good.
Thank you.
But yeah, that was maybe a bit more engaged than I thought I would need to be. I haven't really got too much in the Petit-Fours. I've got one which I enjoyed, which was our favourite nationality in Carcassonne in the week leading up to their fallow game that didn't exist because Carcassonne are no longer in the league. They've been visiting wineries in the region, and there's some great footage of them doing like a team building exercise, running around with barrels of wine.
Nice.
So yeah, they're definitely doing things right down there.
They are the current clubhouse leaders for all things Rosbifs, Petit-Fours, aren't they?
Quite a strong lead as well. So
yeah.
All right,
I've got nothing else.
Shall we leave it there?
Racing, but that can wait for another week. I'll build my case.
Let's hold fire. Right. Well, I guess I'll see you at the airport
in the windmill.
In the windmill on Thursday for our first jaunt to France of the 24-25 Rosbif season. In the meantime, Rob, where can you follow us, spot us, see us?
Everywhere. X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. We are at Rosbifs Rugby on all of them. We are, obviously, this podcast is available wherever you're listening to it, but also lots of other places like Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon. I think that's it. All the other niche ones as well.
Yeah, and shout out
subscribe,
to our...
give us a review, give us some feedback. Feel free to message us on Instagram, X, Threads, whatever you want to message us on. Get in touch. We'd love to hear your feedback and your views, and call us out on some stuff.
Yeah, shout out to our big new listenership in Bangladesh and the Philippines, where we have suddenly had a glut of traffic. So whether you are Chittagong-based, Manila-based French rugby fans, you're all welcome. If you know, even if you're not real, even if you're just a bot somewhere, you're still welcome.
Still drop us a message.
Rugby.
Yeah.
Still let us know what's going on. Yeah, Rob will probably fall for it. Cool. All right. Looking forward to reporting back next week on our French adventure. In the meantime, have a lovely week and au revoir.
Au revoir.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.